Sometimes a story doesn't begin with a dramatic event. Sometimes it begins in silence, in a small space, in a quiet moment, in a place where no one is watching, where a girl, alone with her thoughts, is shaping her world out of fragile pieces of hope. This is not a story about fame or sudden success. It is a story about a life that began in the shadows and slowly, carefully, painfully reached the light. Before the cameras, before the applause, before the moment that would make thousands of people fall silent, there was a childhood no one would envy, a childhood no one saw. But today I will tell you her story. The story of a girl who walked into a brightly lit studio and left everyone speechless. Not because of glamour, not because of fame, but because of the quiet power she carried within her. A power shaped by poverty, by struggle, by failure, and by paper. Yes, by simple pieces of paper. But let me start at the beginning. She was born in a home that barely held itself together. A home where winters were too cold and summers were too long. Where the electricity flickered like a nervous heartbeat. And where silence wasn't peaceful, it was heavy. The kind of silence that grows out of hunger, uncertainty, and exhaustion. Her parents loved her. They truly did. But love does not always come with comfort. Most days, there was enough food. Some days, there wasn't. Most nights, there was light. Some nights, only a candle. And in that dim, trembling glow, she discovered the one thing that would change her future. Paper. Her father, who worked endless shifts, moving heavy boxes in a warehouse, sometimes brought home old receipts, unused forms, or discarded packaging slips. They were torn, faded, scribbled on. But to her, they were treasures. While other children played with toys, she folded paper, cranes, flowers, tiny stars, imaginary creatures only she could understand. When the world was harsh, her hands were gentle. When the world was unpredictable, the paper obeyed her. When everything felt broken, she created something whole. She didn't know it then, but these small, fragile creations were teaching her precision, teaching her patience, teaching her how to build, not just fold. She folded paper because it made her feel safe, because it made sense, because for a moment she could create beauty from nothing. And nothing was something she understood very well. As she grew older, the world around her didn't become easier. Bills piled up. Arguments became louder. The house, once just small, began to feel like a cage. But she held on to her paper. Every day after school, she sat by the window, the only spot with enough light, and folded. Each shape, each crease, each careful motion slowly turned into a quiet promise. I will not stay here forever. I will create something bigger. I will build a life with my own hands. But dreams alone weren't enough. Her grades were good, better than good, exceptional. Teachers admired her, but admiration didn't pay for textbooks. Her family did what they could, but often she felt like she was balancing on a thin thread stretched over nothing. Still she worked. Still she learned. Still she folded. And one day she made a decision that terrified her, a decision that changed everything. She applied to an engineering program, not because she believed she would be accepted, not because she was confident, but because deep inside she felt that her hands, trained by paper, were capable of more. They had learned discipline. They had learned geometry. They had learned symmetry. They had learned structure. They had learned to build. University was not welcoming. It was not gentle. It was not patient. It was everything she feared and everything she needed. She worked nights. She studied days. She slept in fragments, in borrowed hours, between shifts, between assignments, between moments of exhaustion so heavy she could barely breathe. But she kept going. Some classmates laughed at her clothes, at her cheap backpack, at the fact that she ate the same meal almost every day. But she kept going. Some professors doubted she would last the semester. But she kept going. And late at night, when the world outside the library was empty and silent, she made a small ritual. She opened her notebook, tore out one page, and folded a crane. Not because she needed a distraction, but because she needed a reminder. A reminder that even the smallest, simplest thing, a blank piece of paper, could become something beautiful if shaped with intention. And so could she. There comes a moment in every difficult journey when something shifts. A moment that doesn't feel like victory, but feels like hope. For her, it happened during a design project. A challenge every student approached with confidence, except her. They had to design a structure using limited materials. Most students sketched elaborate buildings, bridges, and architectural statements. She stared at the materials, thin rods, sheets of paper, glue, and felt a deep, familiar calm. Paper. Her oldest friend. Her quiet teacher. Her secret weapon. While others built tall, she built precise. While others rushed, she calculated every angle, every fold, every weight distribution. And when the structures were tested, hers was the only one that held. Her professor watched in silence. Then he asked the question that would stay with her forever. Where did you learn to build like this? She wanted to laugh. She wanted to cry. She wanted to say, in a dark room with a candle, because we couldn't afford light. But instead she simply answered, paper. Her professor didn't laugh. He didn't judge. Instead, he looked at her with a mixture of surprise and respect. He had never seen anything like it. Professor, a designer, not a dreamer. You understand structure. And it was then, in that single moment, that her entire world shifted. That one simple compliment, that one small recognition began to change everything. It was like a door opening. Before, she had just been a girl trying to make sense of the chaos around her. But now she was an engineer in the making. The recognition of her skill didn't come overnight. No, it took time. It took sweat. It took nights filled with struggle, deadlines, and self-doubt. But every day she walked a little closer to her future. With that newfound confidence, she began to compete, to create projects no one expected from her, to earn recognition from peers and mentors alike. She was no longer just the girl folding paper at night. She was someone who could shape a future, not with paper this time, but with ideas, plans, and the meticulous understanding of how things were built. And for the first time in her life, she truly believed it. As her education progressed, the stakes became higher. The assignments became more complex. The pressure was relentless. But so was she. And one day, when a major engineering firm came to the university looking for interns, she knew it was her chance. The competition was fierce. The best students, well-dressed, polished, confident. They were the ones everyone expected to succeed. But she had no illusions. She didn't expect to be selected. She didn't expect to fit in. She didn't even know if she had what it took to succeed in such a cutthroat environment. But she still applied. And when the interview came, she dressed in what she could afford. A second-hand jacket, modest shoes, a simple blouse. Her heart pounded in her chest as she walked into the office, feeling like an outsider. But there was something she had that none of the other candidates had. Something she couldn't explain. Something they would never understand. The ability to look at a pile of broken, imperfect things and to see what could be. Interviewer, calmly. "Why should we hire you, Aline?" She took a deep breath. Alina, smiling slightly. "Because I know how to build something from nothing. I know how to make the impossible possible." They hired her. It wasn't an easy transition. The corporate world was brutal. The expectations were high. The work was overwhelming. But it was here that she began to truly grow. As she took on project after project, working tirelessly with her colleagues, something remarkable happened. She started to believe in herself more and more. Not just because she was doing well, but because she was creating. She was bringing designs to life, breathing structure into chaos. She was using everything she had learned, not just from school, but from years of folding paper in silence, from overcoming every obstacle in her way. And slowly the people around her started noticing. Her colleagues began to ask her for advice. Her supervisors began to give her more responsibility. And her boss, the one who had first seen potential in her, began to treat her like a valued member of the team. 1 year into her internship, something unexpected happened. A massive project was announced. A new, high-profile development. a building that would become the centerpiece of the city, the most prestigious project the firm had ever taken on. And despite being a newcomer, Alina was assigned to lead the design team. She couldn't believe it. A girl who had once folded paper in the dark. A girl who had been laughed at, doubted, ignored. And now she was leading a team of engineers, architects, and developers. The pressure was intense. The deadlines were impossibly tight. And as always, there were doubters. Colleague, skeptical. Are you sure we should trust her with this? She's not even... Well, she's just gesturing. But Alina knew something they didn't. She knew that success wasn't about who you were, but what you could build. And she had spent years building. Alina dove into the project with everything she had. Every line, every curve, every angle was scrutinized, refined, perfected. Her hands moved swiftly, just like when she had folded paper. Only now they were drawing. They were shaping the future. They were creating a masterpiece. But it wasn't just about the design. It was about the process. It was about how she guided the team, how she took responsibility, how she believed in herself and inspired belief in others. Every building, every structure, every bridge, every piece of engineering is like a piece of paper. It's fragile, it's imperfect, but it has the potential to become something magnificent. The building was finished. It was beautiful. It was innovative. It was exactly what the city needed. The grand unveiling came. The project was celebrated, and Alina stood at the front of the crowd, her heart swelling with pride. But it wasn't the applause that moved her. It wasn't the recognition. It wasn't the cameras or the reporters. It was the quiet, subtle realization that she had done it. She had built something that would last. And she had done it not by relying on luck, not by waiting for a miracle. She had done it by trusting in herself, in the lessons she had learned from the most humble beginnings. Soon after, she was invited to speak at conferences, featured in industry magazines, and offered positions at top firms. She had become a leading figure in her field, and yet she never lost sight of where she came from. I never forget where I started. The first paper crane, the first step, the first time I realized that I could create something from nothing. Because it's never about the materials you have. It's about what you do with them. Today she stands at the forefront of the engineering world. Her designs have changed skylines. Her leadership has inspired countless others. And though she's far from that small, dimly lit room where she first folded paper, she never forgets it. I built this, not because I was lucky, but because I never stopped folding paper. Years passed, and the world around her transformed. The girl who had once folded paper in the dim light of a cramped house was now designing skyscrapers that touched the clouds. Her name was known, respected, and admired. But still, she never lost sight of what really mattered. She often spoke about the importance of persistence, about how success wasn't about talent alone, but about the courage to keep going when the world seemed to turn its back on you. It's not always easy, and it's not always fair. The road to where I am today wasn't paved with gold. It was paved with obstacles, with mistakes, failures, setbacks. But I've always believed in one thing. If you keep going, if you keep building, eventually, you'll create something that lasts. Alina didn't just build buildings. She built a legacy. Her impact on the engineering world went beyond the structures she designed. She mentored young women, offering guidance and inspiration to those who came after her. She worked with organizations that helped underprivileged children learn about engineering, design, and architecture. Alina, passionate, empowering. I've learned that it's not enough to just create. You have to give back. You have to inspire the next generation so they can see the world not as it is, but as it can be. She became a symbol for those who had been told they couldn't. A symbol for anyone who had ever faced adversity, who had ever been told that their dreams were too big. Her story became one of resilience, vision, and the quiet power of persistence. Despite her success, Alina knew she had more to give. The world was changing. She had seen so many young people struggling to find their place, to discover what they were meant to do. She knew the power of education, the power of guidance, the power of believing in someone when no one else would. So, she founded an academy, a place where the next generation could come, learn, and be mentored. A place where they could hear her story and understand that their own stories were just beginning. Alina, gentle, hopeful. This academy is my way of giving back. It's my way of showing these young minds that no matter where they come from, no matter how difficult their journey may seem, they can do anything. They can build anything. Because we all have the power to create. All it takes is belief. She had started with nothing, but she had created everything. And now she was passing on the torch. Narrator, soft, deep. Alina's story is a testament to what happens when you refuse to accept the limitations placed upon you by the world. When you decide that your circumstances won't define you. When you take that first step, no matter how small, and begin to build a future that not only changes your life, but the lives of others as well. Narrator, inspiring, building to a climax. The girl who once folded paper by candlelight is now an architect of dreams. And it all began with the belief that she could shape something beautiful from the brokenness around her. If she can do it, so can you. As the years went on, Alina continued to teach, to inspire, to build. She never stopped creating, never stopped dreaming, never stopped folding. Alina, reflective, calm, strong. The journey is never really over. You just keep going, Keep building, keep dreaming. Narrator, final soft. And one day, when you look back on your life, you'll realize, just like Alina did, that the smallest things you create, the quietest moments of your journey, are the ones that matter most, because they shape everything that follows. Alina's story is not just her own. It's a story for anyone who has ever been told they're not enough. It's a story for anyone who has faced hardships, yet kept pushing forward. It's a story for everyone who believes that with determination, passion, and persistence, anything is possible. And so, the story continues. Because just like Alina, you too can build something that lasts. Alina's journey, however, didn't stop at creating the academy or founding the company. She knew that true success was not only about building structures, but about transforming lives. She had always believed that the power of creation was a gift that had to be shared, and that every individual, no matter their background or circumstances, had the ability to shape their own future. And so she began focusing on one of her most cherished goals, expanding access to engineering and design education to children from underprivileged communities around the world. Alina, passionate, determined. We're in a time when technology is evolving at a rapid pace. But while we're building the future, we must ensure that the tools for building are available to everyone, regardless of where they come from. It was a monumental task. There were always challenges: funding, partnerships, time, resources. But she had faced far bigger obstacles in her life, and this one was no different. Narrator, soft, reflective. Every successful person has their own unique set of challenges. But success is measured not by the obstacles themselves, but by the determination to push past them. She reached out to various organizations, tech companies, and educational institutions. And slowly, piece by piece, she began building a network that would bring world-class education and mentorship to children who otherwise would have never had the opportunity. By the time she turned 30, her academy had expanded to multiple countries. Her team was now working with schools in remote areas of Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia, bringing knowledge, tools, and inspiration to young minds eager to create. Alina, hopeful, encouraging. The world needs more engineers, more dreamers, more creators. And there's no better time than now to start. No one should be limited by where they were born. If we can give them the right tools, the right mentors, they can change the world just as we are. As Alina's influence grew, so did her understanding of the deeper truth behind her own success. She had learned over the years that building something was about more than just following formulas. It was about connecting with others, empowering them, and teaching them to believe in their own potential. Her work with the young students, particularly girls, became a driving force in her life. She saw how many of them lacked role models in the traditionally male-dominated fields of engineering and design. And so, Alina became not just a teacher, she became a living example of what was possible. Alina, encouraging, heartfelt. When you look at me, I want you to see not just a woman in engineering, but a woman who was once where you are, who once didn't think she could do this, who was told that it wasn't possible. But look where I am now, and you can be here too. Her academy became known for its focus on diversity, inclusion, and opportunity. Alina worked tirelessly to ensure that every student, regardless of their gender, race, or socio-economic status, was given the same chance to succeed. She brought in guest speakers, mentors, and professionals from all walks of life to show students that success came in many forms, from many paths. And slowly, the world began to change. Narrator, softly. The ripple effect of Alina's work is immeasurable. Every life she touched, every student who believed in themselves because of her, becomes a part of the future she helped build. And it's not just the buildings that stand as her legacy. It's the lives she changed, one student at a time. As the years went by, Alina began to reflect on what it truly meant to live a fulfilled life. She had everything she had ever dreamed of. A successful career, recognition, financial stability. She had built a company, created an academy, and inspired a generation of engineers and creators. But there was more. What she had truly built, what she valued above everything else, were the relationships she had forged along the way. The people who had stood by her, supported her, believed in her when no one else did. Alina, soft, reflective. It's not enough to just build things. You have to build connections. You have to build relationships that last. Because in the end, the greatest thing you can create is the community that surrounds you. The people who have been there through every success and every failure. Her family, once her source of pain and struggle, had become her greatest support system. Her parents, who had sacrificed so much to give her a chance, were proud of everything she had achieved. And in that moment, standing before her family, her colleagues and her students, Alina realized that she had reached the summit of what she could build. Narrator, gentle, warm. Alina's journey was never just about reaching the top. It was about learning, growing, and creating a world where others could rise alongside her. She had done it. She had taken a broken, difficult past and turned it into something that could not only change her life, but the lives of countless others. And as she looked out over the city skyline, the very skyline she had helped design, she knew it was only the beginning. Alina's story, however, is not one of just success and accolades. It's a story of resilience, of persistence, and of the quiet power of self-belief. In the early days, when she was folding paper in the dim light, she could never have imagined where she would end up. But she trusted the process. She trusted that the small steps, the quiet moments of creativity, the persistence in the face of adversity, would one day lead her to something greater. Alina, closing warm final words. There's no magic formula for success. There's no secret. It's about what you do every single day. It's about continuing, even when things seem impossible. It's about showing up, believing in yourself, and trusting that no matter what, you will make it. Her message to the world is simple, but profound. Alina, soft, inspiring. Don't give up, no matter where you start, no matter what you face. If I can do it, so can you. As the final scene fades out, we see Alina standing in front of a large blueprint, surrounded by young students. The room is filled with laughter, excitement, and the quiet hum of creativity in motion. The legacy she's building is still unfolding. Her story continues to inspire. Her life's work continues to shape the world. And so, it's not just a story about a girl who started with nothing and became something extraordinary. It's a story about everyone who dares to dream, who dares to build, and who dares to believe. Because in the end, we all have the power to create something that lasts. Alina's journey had come full circle, but it was far from over. Her work with the Academy, her ongoing projects, and her leadership in the engineering field were just the beginning of a much larger impact. As time went on, she continued to shape the future, not just through the structures she designed, but through the people she mentored and inspired. She wasn't just building buildings anymore. She was building a future, one student at a time. Alina, reflective, calm. Sometimes we think success is about reaching the top, but I've learned that it's about leaving a path for others to follow. It's about making sure the door is always open for those who come after you. And so, the story of the girl who once folded paper in a dark room became more than just her own personal victory. It became a story of transformation, of individuals empowered to change their own destinies. As the years passed, the world around Alina began to change in ways she couldn't have predicted. Technology continued to advance at an astonishing rate. The world of engineering was becoming more innovative, more diverse, more interconnected. And Alina was at the forefront of it all, always adapting, always learning, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Her academy had become a symbol of hope and opportunity, not just for those in underdeveloped areas, but for anyone who needed a chance. It wasn't just about providing education, it was about providing the tools, the support, and the belief that anyone, no matter their circumstances, could become a force for change. Alina, optimistic, visionary. The world doesn't need more people who are afraid to take risks. It needs people who are willing to step up, take a chance, and make things happen. We need creators. We need dreamers. We need engineers who are willing to build a future, not just for themselves, but for everyone. Her message resonated across the globe, and more young people, especially women, started seeing themselves in her story. Narrator, inspiring, powerful. Alina had become not just a role model, but a catalyst for change. She had shown that no matter where you start, no matter how many obstacles you face, you have the power to shape the future. To build something beautiful, something meaningful, something lasting. Even with everything she had achieved, Alina knew there was still one more challenge ahead of her. A challenge that would define her legacy once and for all. As the head of the academy and a leader in the engineering world, she was asked to take on a project like no other. The creation of a sustainable, eco-friendly city of the future. It was a challenge that required the combined efforts of the brightest minds in engineering, architecture, and environmental science. It was daunting. It was risky. But it was a chance to put everything she had learned to the test. Alina, with quiet determination. This is more than just a project. It's a statement, a vision, a belief that the future we build must be sustainable, accessible, and inclusive. A future where we don't just create for the present, we create for generations to come. As she gathered a diverse team of innovators, thinkers, and creators, Alina made sure that everyone had a seat at the table. It wasn't just about building for the elite. It was about building for everyone. Together, they worked tirelessly facing setbacks, redesigning, innovating, and pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Every day, Alina reminded herself that this was not just a city. It was a movement. It was the culmination of everything she had fought for, the chance to leave a legacy that would change the world long after she was gone. After years of hard work, setbacks, and triumphs, the city of the future was finished. It was a living testament to the power of innovation, sustainability, and human potential. The city was designed with clean energy, green spaces, and technology that would ensure it thrived for generations to come. It was a blueprint for a better world. As the first residents moved in, Alina stood at the heart of the city, her heart swelling with pride. This was her legacy. This was the future she had always dreamed of, one where people from all walks of life could come together, create, and build something better. Alina, proud, content. I didn't build this city alone. We built it together. Every person who believed in this dream, who worked tirelessly for this vision, is a part of this legacy. We have created something that will last. And that, more than anything, is what matters. As Alina stepped back, watching the city come to life, she knew that her work was done. But her journey was far from over. The academy, the projects, the students. She had given everything she had to them, and now they would carry the torch forward. Her story had become a part of the world's narrative, woven into the very fabric of the future she had helped create. She had gone from the girl who folded paper to the woman who shaped cities, who inspired generations, and who never stopped believing that anything was possible. Alina. Reflective final words. I started with a piece of paper, and now I'm here, in a city that will stand for years to come. If I can do this, so can you. It's not about where you start, it's about where you choose to go. So, where will you go? Narrator? Closing, deeply moving. Alina's story is not just one of triumph. It's a story of resilience, of courage, of belief. It's a reminder that no matter how difficult your journey may seem, you have the power to change your life and the lives of those around you. Because just like Alina, you too can build something that lasts.